Welcome. I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Again, not on a Monday. Today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. I was about to put myself in the past there in the 19s. I just felt I needed to come on again today, and also because I've got the time. We are in such a tumultuous time in this country, which creates a lot of tumult inside. So we have to be vigilant about possibly beginning a spiritual practice, some kind of meditation, some kind of self care routine, whether that means going for a walk, working out, eating healthy food, drinking healthy beverages like water. So here we are, only 6 months into this administration, and everything is topsy turvy and inside out and upside down. So, what isn't from the inside out seems to be the values of this administration. Certainly, there is, it is apparent on what the intentions are by the care policies that have been removed from our government. So, how do we care if they're not going to? How do we step up when they're stepping down? How do we choose to be empowered while they try to disempower us? One thing is it's like an annual reminder of some philosophical practice, and that is the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the Four Agreements are this. I will read them, got them over here. The first one is be impeccable with your word. So being impeccable means almost like perfection. Be impeccable with your word. That, as I touched on in my last talk, is being honest. It is only making the promises you wish to keep and also doing your utmost to keep those promises. And promises sometimes come very quickly out of our mouths, especially if we have had a tendency to be people pleasers. We want them to like us. So we want to do what they want us to do as long as it's not far out of our values and integrity. So if we're not used to having self care on our top priorities, then we may make promises we are really uncomfortable with doing. We don't really want to do them. And then sometimes we sabotage that promise by, indirectly not doing it or making an excuse why you can't do it. So it's better to not make the promise in the first place. It's even valuable to keep promises to your pets. Keep promises to yourself. Keep promises to your children, your parents, or don't make those promises. So be impeccable with your word because, again, the consequences of not being impeccable with your word are that you start to not trust you. You lack credibility with you and everyone around you. It's not just losing face, it's losing trust. It's losing um, the ability to speak powerful truths because you might be able to speak truths on some occasions, but if so many of other occasions you're not speaking truths by not keeping your promises, you are undermining your own truths because some people will not believe you, even though it's true. So that's why being impeccable with your word It builds your inner core on integrity, on truth, which makes you very powerful internally and externally because people see you speak the truth, you are authentic, you are real. So be real, be impeccable with your word, and that is the first agreement. Second agreement is do not take anything personally. While the government is taking away many people's rights, it is not something for those of us that are affected, which is pretty much most of us, to take it personally in the sense that feeling undeserving. It may very well be that this situation is occurring because we don't feel deserving enough to speak our truths, deserving enough to demand more from our government, and also a lack of belief. For a long time now, we have had a lack of belief in our government. The phrase in our culture saying, oh, you can't fight City Hall. Really? You can fight City Hall, and you should fight City Hall. When City Hall or the government of the entire country is doing things that are wrong, unjust, incorrigible, and cruel. So you can fight City Hall, and it's time we get that other phrase out of our language, and we have to be careful how the language that comes so easy to us in our society are often undermining our personal power and our ability to believe that we can have an effect. It was Eleanor Roosevelt that said something along the lines of, no, I wish I looked it up. Um, Something along the lines of, never believe that a small group of committed citizens can make a change. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. So, yeah, it is the only thing that ever has. There's a small group of cultish people that are now in government. I have read there's about 140 of them in our government that are pushing forward on the Project 2025, and they've been working on this for decades. So that's commitment, misguided commitment, but it is commitment. So, what are our commitments we're willing to make to choose truth over the lies they spin, to take our power and keep owning it, even though they're trying to undermine it? What are the ways that we can stand solid in who we are, in what truth is, in what integrity is, and our values of caring for other people, of allowing people that are different than ourselves to have as many freedoms as we have? Why is it that we have allowed the most damaged amongst us to be in charge? They may be the noisiest, they may be the ones most willing to lie to get where they are. So maybe it's time we stop listening to promises from our politicians and look at their track record. Look at a resume. The rest of us usually have to tell an employer, which the American people are employers of the government officials. We need to have evidence, not just what somebody's willing to spout off. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Mark Twain who said, a politician is always surprised that to be held accountable for their words. They don't believe they need to be held accountable. They know that they're just BSing their way through it to get the position that they want, to get the power that they want, to get the money that they want. So let's make our culture impervious to liars. Let's look at action. Let's look at what people have done, not what they say they're going to do. Show me. We need to have a show me culture. not a, oh, that sounds lovely. No, no, show me, prove it to me. Just like with the Epstein files. Now it's being swept under the rug. Oh, it doesn't exist. Really? Well, it does exist. And there's a lot of wealthy people and people in government that likely also, along with Trump, who was a very good friend of Epstein's, visited Epstein's oh, pedophile island. So these damaged adults are damaging young people because they have refused to look at how damaged they are and do the hard work to heal. We need to have a culture that encourages healing, that encourages self introspection, that encourages parents, fathers, mothers to learn how to father, mother before they have children. We need to change our values in our culture to include oh, teachers, parents, mothers in their reward system, in the reward system that we have set up in capitalism. It's like the cruelest wins in this culture and has for a very long time. We need to flip that script and give the most caring people more money, more vacation time, more respect, more more places at the table of how things are done in this country, because that's how you value human beings. You value the care systems, the care workers, the ones who will be there for others, not the ones who throw others under the bus, not the ones who are best friends one week and then gone the next, but the ones who stick around, the ones that are there thick and thin, the ones who are consistent in showing up, in doing the hard work, of being there with others, of being there with their own healing journeys, paths, traumas, to make sure that they are not visiting those traumas on others. To go the 9 yards, to go the extra mile, to make sure that we're really adults. You cannot become a real adult if you are not honest. You cannot be a whole adult if you haven't dealt with your childhood trauma. And most of us have childhood trauma. And that is the thing that so many that are hiding from their trauma are in denial of, they're unaware of. They think that it was unique to them, that something was wrong with them. That's what children do. They think there's something wrong with them, that their parents, their caregivers, their siblings, whomever, teachers, neighbors, uncles, aunts, treated them badly. There's nothing wrong with a child ever. I don't care if that child has a low IQ. I don't care if that child is autistic. I don't care if that child is retarded. There's nothing inherently wrong about a child. And if that child is harmed, damaged, insulted, condescended, um, raped, abused physically, emotionally, it's that something was very wrong with that adult or that near adult. In um, in one position that I was working in a community which was much native community, I remember telling one child who was very upset about the treatment of his father and saying, I have a secret to tell you. Not all adults are adults. And that is a big secret. Kids don't know how wounded adults are. They don't know. They don't know that these horrible actions and attitudes um, and behavior towards these weak, vulnerable, dependent children are because the adults never grew up. or because the adults are still stuck in their childhood trauma. They don't know, and they think it's them, because that's what children do. They are in their ego state of everything has something to do with them, because that's how you survive. And that's how these adults are stuck. Everything's about them because they think that's how you survive. Unfortunately, that's how you guarantee you will not thrive if you make everyone an enemy, like the President of the United States right now is doing. If you make your allies enemies, you will not thrive. You will not thrive because you are paranoid, you are suspicious, you are not being a friend, so you're not going to have friends. You have to be a friend to have a friend. I'm sure that's a kindergarten teacher saying. And you have to be a friend to yourself. Because if we didn't have people in our lives when we were growing up to value us, treasure us, to teach us that yes, we are sacred, that yes, we are whole, that yes, we are important, that yes, our voice matters, that our internal compass is real, that our intuition is real. If we were instead gaslight, like, oh no, that didn't happen, even though it did. That's what gaslighting is. When someone lies to your face, when they tell you that the opposite of what is true, and that's what our press secretary does every day. I don't know what's wrong with that girl, but she's got a problem. And it's really sad that that's what we have. That's the best we could come up with in our government. I'm not sure why that is the case, but it's got to stop because we deserve better. We deserve better. And we can fight City Hall. And there are people that are doing it. And there are small wins. Small wins. But there's got to be more. So back to the 4 agreements. We've got do not make assumptions. So the do not make assumptions part often has to do with interactions with others, like you may assume what they're thinking about you. Well, I don't remember another famous person who said, might have been Pablo Picasso, who said, what they think about me is none of my business. And that is absolutely true. It is invaluable for us to have a higher regard of ourselves, to not imagine cruelties coming from others. So, however, if we have cruelties within us that we have internalized from our caregivers or lack of caregivers, even fellow school students, even neighbors, especially neighbors that are racist against whatever it is we are. And that means they're fearful. So, why do we let the fearful or the severely damaged define us? Once we can get that voice out of ourselves that says we're less than, or we're not worthy, or we are somehow damaged from birth, when we get that out of our minds, we can choose a different identity. The problem with an identity is it is very strong determining factor in our beliefs and in our actions and in our future trajectory of what is and is not possible for our life. So when we have an identity, oh, that's not for, me. Other people can do that, but I can't. Or I am this way, that's just the way I am. Or I can't do that because, I'm addicted to this or that, so I'm a victim to my addictions. There are people that are able to quit their addictions once they recognize that they have one, once they acknowledge that they have one, once they realize that it's unhealthy. Because why? Because they have such a high value of their own health and well being that they are willing to quit it. Even though they wanted to continue, even though they enjoyed it, their highest value was it's not good for me, like smoking, it's not healthy, so they quit. But back in the day, nobody knew it wasn't good for you. They didn't know. There are a lot of things we didn't know. And now we do. And then we have to make adjustments. Our whole reality changes when I got a frog in my throat. Our whole reality changes when when we learn something new. There was just a drop of water in that. Anyway, I guess it's okay. Maybe I can speak. Um, so we have to adjust our sense of reality. Just like when someone important in your life dies or leaves for whatever reason, we have to adjust our reality. Our whole world changes. Or some people, when they retire, the same thing, or when they lose a job that they love doing. It is an opportunity for growth. It is an opportunity to heal. It is an opportunity to become someone new in the sense that not leaving everything behind, but it's an expansion. It is an integration of new knowledge, sometimes even new wisdom that we allow to the surface. Not everything that's in our subconscious is bad. Some of it is our hidden talents, abilities, are things that we haven't tapped into because somebody said we were not that. Somebody said that you can't do that, but guess what? We can when we try. And I say try in the sense that when we allow ourselves to make these steps, take the steps, make attempts to do the baby steps to move towards our heart of heart goals in our lives. I'm going to get back to the 4 agreements. Thankfully, my throat is clearing up a little bit. I don't know what happens there. Okay, so the do not make assumptions. I'll just wrap up this way. Is that sometimes we are so convinced of our negative imaginings. We don't know how to use our imagination. We have to question our imagination and ask ourselves, where is that coming from? Do I actually have physical evidence, real evidence that what I am imagining is true? And that is lacking very much in our society, where uh, people will jump to conclusions. People will have projections on others that are not true because they're so wrapped up in themselves and their fears that they believe that the whole world is reflecting exactly what their deepest held fears are. And it could be prejudice in a reverse sense, feeling that others are prejudiced against them um, because they're different, because they feel vulnerable, because they're scared, because somebody was prejudiced. And then now it's being projected onto all others or most others. And that's sad again. So we need to take account of what is imagined because of our wounds and our fears as opposed to what is real. And energetically, we've got to draw in the positive experiences by putting a vibration of positivity into the world. when we are so strong in our center that we believe whatever comes our way we can overcome, you will have better opportunities and chances to overcome whatever the hardships are in your life because you're looking for the way beyond. Unless you have a negative attitude about a pessimistic attitude about life, you will be more easy, it will be easier for you to give up because that's validation of your beliefs. So we need to be careful with what beliefs that we hold in our minds and always examine those beliefs and be willing to look at others that are having a different life experience than us and find out why, find out what they think, find out what they believe, and try to model that if they're getting better results than us. We are a species that learns from others. You know, they use the phrase monkey see, monkey do. We do. We learn from others, and that's why we have to be careful with what we expose ourselves to. Our television is often very negative. Our movies are often very negative, and they are cultural creators, not just reflecting reality, as they like to say. Oh, art reflects life. Yeah, well, life reflects, I'm not going to call it art, but what people see in the movies. And a lot of it is negative, a lot of it is dangerous behavior, a lot of it has to do with group mindsets that are demeaning to others, whether it be women or people of different races, different classes in society. Okay, last one I spoke on also yesterday briefly. It was yesterday. Always do your best. Again, because if you always do your best, you can't criticize yourself. Next time I'll have a glass of water by my side. Yikes. I will end there. I hope you are having a great day, despite the madness, despite the cruelty, despite the work you may have to do internally to be able to do the work externally. Because there's nothing worse than knowing something needs to be done outside in the world, in our society, and not being able to do it because you have set yourself up in a way where you can't. And sometimes that's being in a toxic relationship where it takes all your energy and all your time and your focus. And in situations like that, we can't even be there for those of us that we love and we care for. And I've been there, I've done that, and it's really sad. You cannot do the things you want to do in your heart of hearts when you allow yourself to be manipulated or um, be overwhelmed by someone else's damage, trauma. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we are all at in our society. And the damage and the trauma is coming from the government. And they are creating damage and trauma in many of our lives. But we cannot allow their damage and trauma to become our damage and trauma, to become all we think about and all we feel, and lower our vibration. So we have to be conscious to raise our vibration. And I mean that literally. And that is the vibration of our heart, the vibration of love, of optimism, of positivity, of yes, I can do something. Yes, I can and will fight City Hall. Yes, I am important. Yes, we deserve better. We deserve better. I deserve better. We can have better, but not unless we can imagine it. We have to stop imagining that all politicians are crooked, that one side is evil and the other is not. You know, there are some good people in each of our political parties. And there are evil people. And the evil, I use that word to say damaged and lacking compassion, because that is what creates a monster of a human being, is lacking compassion, lacking empathy, the drive for power over everything else. And that is what we are seeing. So the fight, if we are in a fight right now, is to have a society that has only the elite, powerful people that don't give a damn about anybody else in charge, or people that do give a damn, that people do care about others being in charge. And the in charge part starts with ourselves. We have to be in charge of ourselves. We have to bring our power back from every place we've ever given it away to. We have to reclaim that power, which means also our attention. So our attention is being stolen if we let it. But you cannot let it be stolen if you choose to reclaim it, if you choose not to participate in the grand theft of your own presence to this moment, to right here, right now, to whom you are, not whom you're not. The commercials will always tell you you are lacking and need something to purchase to make you better, to make you prettier, to make you handsomer, to make you stronger. It's really sad, this modern culture that we live in. You don't need anything from outside to make you worthy, to make you whole. But you probably need more authentic, meaning real, connections with real people, not just online like me talking to a screen, looking at a little camera, but really interacting with people on an authentic level. When someone says, "How are you doing?" don't just say fine if you're not. If somehow you're crushed in inside. When my mother was dying, and it had been an 8-year battle with cancer that she had, when it was the last time that I was probably going to see her, when I was going to visit her before Christmas, people at the bank or at the grocery store would say, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Well, not too good, because this is why." And that made connections with people that I never would have made if I hadn't been real. Other people shared stories with me about their family and about their losses. When you cover up your vulnerabilities and your frailties and your broken heart, you are covering up your realness. You are covering up your humanity, and you are missing an opportunity to be present with another real and authentic human being. So be real, even if you're broken, even if society is broken, and even if it's not healable. Be real anyway. Even if we don't achieve a just and free society, as we haven't yet in the United States of America. But maybe we can. And maybe we need to believe in that possibility still. And maybe if we risk believing in that possibility, and in the possibility that we can have leaders in our government that have integrity and have honesty and that have some kind of expertise that is worth them being in that position. Maybe if we believe that is possible, maybe we can get it. Maybe we don't have to give our power away to the broken system. Maybe we just have to realize that we have to stop letting other people do things for us and start standing up and doing things for ourselves, which is taking care of yourself on the basic level and doing the inner work. So, on this random Friday, may you heal and may you help heal others. Because it is in those ways that we are broken that it opens a connection with others that are broken similarly. Or maybe we've learned something from our brokenness that we can share with others so they don't have to go through what we've gone through for as long as we have. So, have a great weekend. Do your best. I'm going to go backwards here. Do not make assumptions. Do not take anything personally. And be impeccable with your word. I am Reverend Montclair. This is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair on a random Friday. And may you walk in beauty, with beauty before you, with beauty behind you, with beauty above, with beauty below, and I add here with beauty within, and with beauty all around you. May you walk. Till next time, take good care of yourself and actively participate in creating the world you choose to live in. Much love to you all. I am Reverend Montclair, and I'll see you next time.